So it will be available if you'd like to rewatch, or if anyone has missed it today, you're more than welcome to go on to the webinar library on the website and watch from there. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending today's webinar. Just to quickly introduce myself, I'm Lucy, the events coordinator at the Staffordshire Chambers. Today we have our presenter Julia Jones from the organisation of Alteza People UK for the webinar of the business ecosystems. We're really looking forward to this fantastic webinar, and with that I'll hand across to Julia.
Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon officially. I did feel that because the weather is the way it is and people are starting to go on their holidays, that the last thing you really needed to do this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, was to sit to listen to me for an hour. It's not my style, and so I'm hoping that we will look at this topic and really understand it and see how it impacts us and what the value is. You know, where does this fit? Where does this language fit? Because even if you have a business that is very small, or if you are like me, you operate on your own, this kind of language is really important when you're dealing business to business. So let's get straight in. So I'm not going to, come on, work, you little thing. Now, Lucy, my thing stopped working. Here we go, let's try again. So in terms of, it's all right, my clicker stopped working for a minute. So in terms of intros, you've obviously read a little bit about me, or you might not, you may have got here by complete mistake, but you're not going to be let go now. I thought it'd be really great if we could just find out a bit about each other. So here's your brief, ladies and gentlemen, just a bit about who you are. And also, do you have suppliers? What kind of clients do you have? Where is your network and where are your competitors? We're really interested to know. But there's the most important question after that is, where would you rather be today? So who'd like to go first?
Shall I go?
Oh, go on, I will, if nobody else will.
Go on then, Philip.
Okay, so I'm Phil Tugwell. I'm managing director of a company called Wire Consulting. It sounds very elaborate, but it is only me. Spent the last 20 years as a management consultant working with a company in Birmingham called MCP, which was where I met Julia. Left them a couple of years ago, joined another company in London, and then left and set up on my own last year. So I'm doing very much the operational excellence, lean manufacturing consultancy that I've always done, working with blue chip companies. In addition to that, that's probably 75% of my business. The other 25 is I'm a photographer. I run a photography company doing events, personal branding, corporate branding, and all those sorts of things that photographers do. Do I have suppliers? Not really. What's my network? It's, from a consultancy point of view, all over the world. So I've got clients in America and in the UK. From a photography point of view, it's North Wales, Chester, Cheshire, Merseyside and Manchester type of clients. Consulting is manufacturing type companies and infrastructure. Photography is anybody who wants their pictures taken. Competitors, thousands in photography, including everybody with the smartphone. And competitors in consulting are people like MCP and that brand of small niche manufacturing consultancies. Where would I rather be? Somewhere out taking pictures.
Where do you like? What kind of things do you enjoy photographing most?
I do all sorts. People, so I do a whole range of stuff: fashion, model shoots, traction engines, steam trains, big cats, anything really. They're my cool. Events are my real thing from a business point of view, but I like anything involving people, big cats and steam trains and traction engines.
Fantastic. Thanks ever so much. It's lovely to see you, and thanks for joining us here today. It's
you're
really
welcome.
Lovely. So who's going to go next, or should we go in the order of my Zoom?
I don't mind.
Go on then, Juliet.
Right, my name's Juliet. I'm a relationship manager at Investors in Community. I was drawn to this event this afternoon because we spend all our time engaging with value-based organisations.
Sorry, Juliet, I can't hear you at all. Is it just me?
It's me as well, that I don't think our connections.
Where as a service platform, which is a company. Oh, am I just moving my mouth and you can't hear me?
We can see you now.
Yeah.
I think your line is really insecure, Juliet. Oh no.
Yeah,
come back, Juliet.
Afternoon, I've noticed this happen. Can somebody else back to me and we'll see if it's any better.
Okay, all right. Fab. Who's going to go next? Camilla, are you there? No? Go on, Ali.
I think Camilla's sent a note to say that her equipment isn't working.
Maybe she will log back in then. Yeah.
Juliet, I'd love to hear all about you, but I couldn't hear a word you were saying, so I don't know if you need to turn your microphone up, maybe. That would be cool. A little bit about me. I'm currently a business startup advisor with Staffordshire Chambers of Commerce and LinkedIn partnership with Staffordshire County Council. Love to talk to anybody who within the last 2 years has set up on their own, because I know where all the secret stuff is to help you. You definitely need to contact me, and you'll find me on LinkedIn. That's the best way to be in touch with me. I've had a number of businesses over the years. I'm just about to launch another one in September. So yeah, suppliers. I'll only have about half a dozen for this new company. We're going to be offering an advanced business support package, an off-the-shelf package. And where would I like to be? I'm missing Ireland a little bit at the minute. I kind of need to get back to the homeland. Just for a weekend would be nice. Yeah. I'm very happy to be here, Julia.
Oh, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us. Juliet, should we try again?
Yeah, we can try again. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Let me talk fast then.
Go on then.
I'm Juliet Thompson. I'm representing Investors in Community. We're a charity and business engagement platform. So we engage with value-based organisations as you know, part of our business. So we don't have suppliers, but we have members. So we have members and charity members and individual volunteers all together on one new concept, because the large charity organisations such as Just Giving, donating platforms, I mean, Virgin Giving, all those, they take a slice out of charity donations, transactional charges, etc. And the premise of our platform is that it's totally free forever for charities. So we have hundreds of charities on board. They have their own profile on the platform, and businesses can find them and support them as part of their CSR strategy. So we're being a software platform. Obviously, we cover, our network covers the UK, and it's also globally eventually. The new platform has only been launched, so it's a platform for businesses to donate through, and they can donate in monetary terms or by giving, pro bono volunteering or unskilled volunteering or gifting in ways, and provides businesses with a live platform to show what they're doing, what their staff are doing, how much they've donated, and then you can earn community credits as a business, which is a recognised measure of positive social impact or community support, if you like to call it. We don't really have any competitors because businesses who are already doing charity work or not doing it and are suggesting that they do it through the platform, and then all their reporting is made easy. They can do it for the board members, for their supply chains, tendering. So it benefits charity. You talk to me about engaging your business on the platform. It's only £1 a person, so we're not, we're not for profit. So it's just really to enable us to give it to charities for free. So if an individual joins, it's only £10 a year.
And where would you rather be today, Juliet?
But I really would like to be with my daughter because I haven't seen her since the start of this pandemic, and she's living in London and she's just between jobs at the moment. So I'm hoping not today, but maybe at the weekend and see her.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you should have a bit of cooler weather by then, hopefully.
We shouldn't be saying that, should we really? But
no, not really. Not really.
Aircon in the car's not working. So yes, that would be great.
So do we have Camilla back? No? Should we go to you, Lewis? This is going well, isn't it? No, yeah. So let's crack on then. So where am I? Are you going to go, Lucy?
Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, I was just going to say before I go, Lewis has put a note in saying he's going to keep muted because he's got
lies. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm Lucy. I'm the events coordinator at the Chamber. Supplier wise, I don't really think as my job role I really have a supplier. Type of clients will be predominantly our members, really working with the members for webinars, future physical events, hopefully. Competitors, again, we're a non-profit organisation, so I don't really think we've got any competitors.
Okay, fab. Well, let's move on then. I'll tell you a bit about me at the end, but in essence, where would I rather be today? Lucy, where do you want to
be? Somewhere with a pool.
Somewhere with a pool, yeah.
Anywhere that's hot with a pool.
Yeah, I normally would say I'd like to be with my horse today, but it's just too hot out there, so I'm quite happy being here with you lot. So that's where I want to be today, just to be clear. I'm Julia. I've been in the field of psychometrics, training, business consultancy for many years, as Philip has just testified for me. And yes, hopefully remembered for good things. And I've worked on some really interesting projects. And when I first spoke to the Chamber, I was really keen to sort of explore what is going on right now. Obviously, we've had a global pandemic to deal with, and I've lived and breathed through that, which has meant that the experiences I have and the things that I talk about and the areas I help businesses with are really because I've lived, breathed, researched them, and I operate in an area of my skill sets and my comfort zones, but I do stretch them as well. So I'll tell you a bit about that later. So let's get on, because we're here to talk about business and the ecosystems. That was what was on the agenda. But I'm not going to do all the work. So at the top, you can see that you have an annotate bar. So if any of you have not used this before, this is where you're going to get your hands dirty. And let's just talk together. We're a nice small group. I've kind of changed the way that we were heading on to this session. Rather than just talking at you, let's get some conversation and let's try and share and help each other. So if you click on your annotate button, what it allows you to do is you get a second bar up.
Okay.
And if you click on text, what it allows you to do...
Sorry to interrupt. Where's the annotate button?
So if you go to the top, you should have a bar across the top. It might be at the bottom of your screen, which goes mute, stop video, security, participants, polls, and then there is an annotate button. It's like a little pencil. Can you see that?
I've only got participants, chat and share on mine.
Yeah, I've only got that.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, Ali's on.
Does
And
anyone at the top, do we all have view options?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you click onto there, there's annotate on the drop down.
No.
No.
Right, okay. Well, what we're going to have to do then is I can type for you. How's that?
Okay.
Staffing shortages. So you shout out to me. So what is changing for business right now? What have we got?
Economic uncertainty.
And what do you mean by that? So we're talking about economic. What do you mean?
Nobody's quite sure whether, yes, there was Freedom Day in England yesterday. Not for me because I'm in Wales, but is that going to last? You know, depends what you read. You know, who knows what the next 6 months brings? Is it more of the same, or is it back to how we were?
Okay. What else have we got?
Ways of working.
Ways of working, yeah. So expand on that for me.
Well, obviously, I think it's common knowledge that the pandemic has broken the chain of people as a norm, doing the daily commute and working in an office and coming home in the evening, to obviously a working from home situation that I think has become quite embedded. Some people like it, some people hate it, and I think businesses have got to look at how they go forward. Are they going to ask all their staff to come back in? Are they going to give them an option for hybrid working? And what do their employees think about that? So that'll be another thing they'll have to consider.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Any other thoughts? Skill shortages, staff shortages. Who put that on? Was that you, Ali? Yeah. That's interesting. I wasn't expecting that to come up quite so early. So what have you experienced?
Well, I still have a little hand in my last business, which is a construction company. And we've experienced skills shortages for quite a few years. But now twin that with the fact that there's so much building work going on all over the country, that it's very hard to get people to work in smaller companies because they go to the big bucks on the big building sites.
Yeah.
Yes, they work harder, longer hours. You know, there's no one letting them to go home early to get the kids or whatever.
Yeah.
The money. So in the building industry, another thing is that the average age of a man on site is now 40 years old.
Wow.
Very few people coming into the industry that rather go to so yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And the longevity of someone working on a building site, by 50, they're usually riddled with arthritis. So having to wait another 28 years before they can officially retire is pretty difficult.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's going to cause a lot of older people who are not yet of retirement age, who are going to be looking for some sort of government support just to survive.
Yeah.
Which has an effect to us on our taxes, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. And Camilla's been able to type on here. Thank you, Camilla. Digital awareness and reliance. And I think that is massive. I've come from my background. I mean, I could fill this screen up, what's changed for business. The fact that for me, it was a case of getting to 18 months ago and having people furloughed. So out of my team of 16, I lost 13 or 14, leaving just 3 of us to man an entire customer experience plus deliver training. And that went global. And so when you're experiencing change with all of those people involved, the thing that occurred to me was I woke up one day and thought, actually, we don't need to do this anymore. And I haven't got to explain to anybody why. We can just stop. And so that change and that digital change happened very, very quickly. We were able to turn off things that weren't earning money, transform the things that were. There were no bottlenecks in terms of decisions. But the problem with that was as people were coming back into business, what became really acutely aware for me and my team was that they were coming back into a business that had completely changed over a period of time, and it felt to them like it was new jobs. And I think that the problem we've got now is that that rolls out into all businesses, whether we're looking at staff shortages and thinking about how do we use the skills of the people we've got and sort of backfill around that, or is it about the economy? Can we afford to bring people into our business? And also, you know, what way is going to work for us? There's some mindsets are still, you know, stuck. And I heard of one business last week that put a mandate out that everybody was coming back into the office to work 9 to 5, and they got mass resignations because it was just not what people wanted to do anymore. So I think it's fair to say that, you know, digitally we've accelerated so far forward. Managers are sort of left short. People don't really know, you know, what is going to come down the pipe. We've got shortages all over the place. And then on top of that, you know, we have things like the economy. Who knows what will happen with interest rates? Are we going to head for a recession? You know, and then all of the other things that sit on top that are relevant to a lot of us. You know, are we responsible for our carbon footprint, as an example? And all of the things that affect the larger businesses, and as they start to get there on their agendas and start to work on these things, the impact is going to roll downhill to people like you and I, all of us, in fact. So it's a really interesting debate and one that we can go on. But business is changing, and we have to keep up with it. So let me just see what I need to do about changing my screen right now. There we go. So, oh, I need to clear my notes. How do I do that then? Clear. There we go. Clear all drawings. There we go. So, and it's the same. So the analogy I like to think of is that to really paint a picture of what's been going on is that there used to be a traditional way to buy a car. Okay, it was that one. It was, we had an experience not too long ago where a double glazing salesman was sat in my house, and my husband came to the door, and I was just driving home because it was his job to get the quotes for the conservatory. That's man's work in my house. So that was his job to get the quotes. He met me at the front door and he said, "Get him to leave." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "I can't get him to leave." So I went in and I was faced with, you know, a traditional salesman whose approach was, but if I walk away today, you know, the price is going with me. And I said, "Don't forget your case," and off he went. But you see, over the last few years, digital evolution has changed the way that we do purchase things. So if you think about the way that we get rid of this annotate thing now, this seemed a good idea at the time, and now I'm regretting it. Here's my daughter. So she purchases everything, including, you know, hair color, and everything gets delivered to our door. So as a consumer, we have changed, okay? Even if you like going to retail parks and you like to go on that journey, you're still likely to have done your research before you leave home. And what that's meant for businesses is that, you know, we have had to find this way of evolving, a way of evolving, which means that businesses are more optimized. Platforms like the one that you're talking about, Juliet, become much more efficient in terms of delivering first-class experiences and being able to compete, not just on a national scale, but on a global scale. Now, the problem is we sit thinking, well, surely there is something that has to happen here because people at some point are involved. So what happens to our people? Does it mean that we don't need people anymore? Has anybody got any thoughts on that?
I think it's a common perception that, you know, that will be the case. And I think it varies depending what sort of industry or sector you're in.
Yeah.
I'm seeing sort of or our business is seeing a cultural change. That's just something that leads on really from, I think you said something about carbon footprint. I mean, not only environmental change, but social impact change as well.
Yeah.
It is heavily reliant on people. And although we've got for example, we've got a software platform, it relies on people volunteering and people supporting and people raising money, which are community-driven things. So I think, you know, it is fair to say that jobs are being lost to technology in certain aspects, then in other ways, cultural change is inspiring people. It's becoming part of auditing and reporting that they demonstrate positive social impact, and this impacts on them attracting customers, getting a solid supply chain. You know, it feeds into the bottom line, although it's not a monetary transaction.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my view.
Yeah.
So in some cases, things are purely done on platforms, aren't they? And businesses, you know, operate simply on that basis. I don't know what sort of, I'm struggling now to think of examples. But
no, I think you're doing a great job.
Businesses probably are going to the simple act of adding up, for example, spreadsheets are a mass, and so it goes on and so it goes on, and it's all at the click of a switch. That, you know, people with that sort of mindset, it's not my mindset.
Yeah.
And there's loads of examples, aren't there, of where potentially fewer people can generate more work.
Yeah. So what's with that in mind, what is an ecosystem then? What in terms of your reasons for joining today, what's your understanding of what business ecosystem is? We don't have to write it on here. We just talk it through.
I'm waiting for you to tell us, Julia.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Have a guess then, Phil. Go on. You have a guess first.
I think it's the interconnection of all the different areas of the economy and the country that you as a business interact with. So it's the IT, it's the people, it's the social area, it's government legislation, it's all of those things that have an impact on the way that you as a business operate.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other thoughts? Anything to add to that? It's very articulate.
Investors in community obviously focus on positive impact as part of an ecosystem. So all the things that we do as individuals or we do as businesses, everybody, I think there is it's gradually, and it's now speeding up, a general feeling. Obviously the environment is, you know, a massive issue.
Yeah.
What impact we're creating there, what impact we're creating on the communities we set businesses up in. So positive impact is sort of make it sound, you know, not too frightening, you know, that we're all responsible for making it positive.
Yeah.
And not doing things that, you know, and the younger generation is so much more aware of that than, you know, older generations. I know I'm generalizing, but I do find with the next generation that they are putting all these things at the top of their agenda when they're choosing who to buy from. Look at the fashion industry, who to work for, how they live their lives. So
yeah, Camilla's just put some comments in. Thank you, Camilla. She's talking about maintaining and creating positive relationships with suppliers and customers. And I think that is a really good, I think we've pretty much covered all of it, but I just wanted to make you aware of my kind of starting point for getting really interested in this and understanding how this married over and how my business could work alongside companies looking at the bigger picture. Was I attended a workshop which was being run by Mitsubishi Chemical Holdings, and they were talking about, you know, the big eco challenge that they have, which is effectively carbon neutral. Now, the challenge is that all of these multiple projects have to be going on all over the business, but there is a starting point, and that is that all of your people have to be on board and to sign in to the values of the business to be able to make this happen. It's all very well taking on the projects and doing this kind of work if, as long as we've got the people to do it. And sometimes it's the culture and it's the leadership that needs fixing before we can actually drive these agendas out. And there's some really compelling data to back this up. So I don't know if you're aware of this, Philip, in terms of your background, Kaya Teki, this philosophy that they have. which fits alongside a lot of manufacturing models that are in place, like Lean, Six Sigma, etc. But this is all about putting the person, the well-being of the individuals at the heart of the journey, and making sure that if the people are in a good place, everything else will fall in, because everybody else is then values-based and engaged with what we're trying to achieve as one unit. So I took this as a starting point. If you try to define what a business ecosystem is, you're going to find that all over the place with slight subtleties and differences. But I just love that picture in terms of what Mitsubishi are doing and the striving and the investment they're making, around people to make the change with them. Okay, so it's not about actually what we're doing as a business, it's what the people are doing to drive forward. So coming back to think about where humanity sits and, how our working futures sit together, we've still got to come together as human beings. And there are certain needs that we have to meet to make sure that we drive these business ecosystems forward. So we'll have a look at that in a minute, because I'm going to show you mine. So to define it, this is just one definition that we have. It's sustainable organizational management and design. So that will be, again, language that Philip will be aware of. But what's changed is that organizations are now understanding that humans are at the forefront of making it together. So we have to make the success. We have to be cohesive, performing people that work across teams, not just in teams. We have to be able to communicate at different levels. Leaders on projects might not necessarily be the highest paid individuals. They could be just the people that have the best skills to get something to happen. And if a lot of businesses, what they're trying to do, and a lot of my work at the moment is coming out of COVID to look at companies that are scratching their heads and saying, what is going on? Where do we start with this stuff? And so we strip it back, and the place that we start is looking at development, looking at culture, looking at the corporate values, and getting the base right for the people before we start to move on and hit some of the bigger pictures. And that's what a lot of larger management consultancies do. So I wanted to deliver that message to you because I think this is really, really important. And to start to think about it, irrespective of whether or not, I'm just going to move my slide forward so that you can see what I mean. Whether you are a company that doesn't have any customers, a company that doesn't have any suppliers, we all have an impact on each other. And so what I've done is, this is my business, okay? This isn't a tree for my family tree of employees. This contains a lot of interesting components to get me to where I need to get to. And hopefully by me getting to where I get to, it also means that other people will also get to where they get to too. That's a bit complicated, isn't it? So let me explain this. Here I am running my business, my values-based business. My values are basically on my website, but we're one team. Anybody I work for, the way that I'm attracted to work with an individual is if I become part of the team, that we are operating from a position that everybody has an opportunity for growth and development, irrespective of what level you're at or what level you want to get to. It isn't necessarily about getting up the skills level, but it's about being the best that you can be and the best that you want to be, fulfilling your values and making sure that you have purpose. I was talking to somebody yesterday who's a business owner, and I was like, he said something, I was like, you've just described to me your purpose. You've just told me why you're doing this. And it was the first time he'd managed to articulate it, but we'd gone through several other processes before we got to this point. So back to this diagram then. So the red people around my heart of my business, those are my customers. Okay, so these are people that I collaborate with, that I would class myself to be as part of their team. Come hell or high water, I'm there to support them. And the reason I tend to be there is because they don't have the skills that I have, and they just need to borrow them for a short period of time. That's why we're customers. But equally, I have people that will write me testimonials. So these are people that will have worked with me previously, and any new customers wants to check me out. They want to see what my credentials are. Ali was very hard on me a month or so ago when she said to me, "You need to shout loud and proud about this, Julia." And I'm still kind of a bit humble about the kind of brands that I've worked with, but I do have testimonials to back up that I can do what I say I do on the tin. And then I don't always have the answers. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, what I have found is this. I can reach out into my network, and I've never done this before, and say to somebody, "I need to help my customer and I don't know what to do. Can you help me?" And I've found that people in my network offer me advice free. And it also means that it opens the door that if they need me, they can ask me as well. So this to me has been absolutely vital in terms of moving my position forward as a business owner and somebody that can authentically say, "I don't have all the answers, but I'll work my butt off until I find them for you." Okay, that's been a big, significant change. And here's another one. Working with the suppliers, asking for referrals. That is something that Ali has, again, been quite forthright and really helped me about, because, you know, it's something that we don't do enough. You know, where do you get your business from? Can't you introduce me? And vice versa. I encourage people, and I'm very proactive about producing referrals for individuals. And finally, the ones around the edges. Do you see the ones that are sitting on each other, fighting, talking in the boardroom? Those are my competitors. Okay, I still class them as being part of my ecosystem. So there are thousands of people, as Philip said, when you move into management consultancy, there's thousands of people out there that do this. And of course, I want to be able to collaborate. I might have skills that some of them don't have. And likewise, why would I see them as a competition when the market is so big? It's very rare that we're going after the same customer. But when we're talking about philosophies like this one, which I think is really important, I would be much happier to share this information than to keep it to myself. And therefore, for me, a competitor these days is somebody that I would see as I'd want to help, and also ask for help if I'm lacking in support. So within this, I have lots of people that sit in my current ecosystem. And the reason they're in my ecosystem is I know that come hell or high water, our values are aligned. I know that they are people that I can trust. They're people that are going to help and support me if I ask for it, and likewise they can of me too. So this is an example of considering what an ecosystem might look like. This is mine. Yours will be different. And it scales up. So at the moment, the only person I have to be true to every day in terms of answering to my values is myself. But it is equally as important to me, even as I sit here today as a one-man band, to be selecting people to work with that have similar values. Now, some of my competitors might not have the same values as me. Some of them might actually have different products to me. But if two of us were pitching to one of my customers, it makes it a lot easier for me to differentiate myself, or even work with somebody who might be perceived as a competitor and share the workload, because we can't both do all of it, or we'd be, setting ourselves up potentially for a fall. So we scale that up then to the bigger businesses and try and understand, for me, as I grow my business, as I start to employ people, what does this mean? Well, it means that it's really important for me to be a good leader, to have a clear vision, to be true to my values, and also bring people into my business that have similar values, but also understand that it's okay that we are talking to competitors, we are talking to people that might be in the same field as us, because collaboration, as the world gets smaller technologically, means that we have to come together as people and work in that vein. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Very creatively put as well.
Thank you. Well, for me, it's important that you keep this stuff simple. It's really important, and it's equally important that I think that if you go out as a small to medium-sized business today and try and compete with everybody, you're going to get into a point which is my next question is, who buys from you? You go out straight to compete with somebody else on price. And quite frankly, I don't have time to do that. And if it comes down to price for a service, and if the importance of what I can do for a business is seen as a commodity or as a transaction, it's probably not the right kind of business for me to work with. They're not going to get value from me because we don't have that alignment of seeing the world in the same way. And I'm not talking because I'm more expensive than anyone else. It's just a fact. I turned down a proposal not too long ago, and I stood by it because the expectation was I couldn't speak to the decision maker to give me his budget. And so through his direction, I dealt with somebody else in the business, and everything was going swimmingly. My proposal hit the needs of the business, but then he came back into the picture and said it's too expensive without actually understanding the value that I was going to bring. So from my perspective, the proposal was coming from a place of, you've lost people, which would have cost you X. Here is a program, and I can guarantee it won't happen again. But then for him, it came down to day rates. Now, as I walked away from that experience, I looked back at it and thought, I don't know if I could believe in what we're trying to do here. I'm not actually convinced that I could move that business forward, so I was happy to walk away. Didn't mean to say it wasn't right for somebody else. In fact, I asked a competitor to step in because she might be more equally placed and have a better kind of pricing structure and a different way of looking at things that will get them the results they want, but it just wasn't for me. So sometimes we just need to be a bit brave. So what can people buy from you? What is it about you that, makes people say, yeah, I want to deal with this person?
I think in all consultancy, particularly, it's around chemistry. It's, do they interact and connect with you on a personal level? And then that, based on either your personality or your knowledge or something that you bring to the party that they haven't got, and then they enjoy working with you. And I think it's very much about the chemistry that you and the client build a relationship that you can both work on and trust each other with. Yeah.
And I think, it's that human thing. People buy from people.
Yeah.
You make transactional decisions about how much you're going to pay for the kids' Christmas presents online. But actually, if we're talking about something that's very important to my business, it comes back to the humans. It does come back to the way that we're working. And I just wanted to share a couple of these data points with you. So the points that are on, why has that come up on here? Just unbelievable. So these points have come up as top priorities on the working agenda today. Okay, so this might surprise you. 60% of leaders now indicate that they feel used up, or at the end of every working day, they're indicating that they're getting close to burnout. 60%. Okay. Let's think about why this might be. Ambitious future leaders may be reluctant to express their frustration, possibly fearing that it could cost them the chance for a key opportunity. So people aren't speaking out when they are feeling like burnout. 86% of high potentials are at the risk of burnout right now. Now, arguably, these individuals are ones that are feeling that they have something to prove in a world that's changed, in an agenda, in a working environment where we're not clear about what we want from people. In fact, it's so unclear that leaders don't know what they need right now. This is a really great survey. There are a couple of sources here. Ping me a line, or I can get them through to Lucy to distribute. The Global Leadership Report and also the Mental Health Organisation are the points for my data here. But they prove a really interesting point. CEOs, they're not ready for digital transformation either. They're relying on their leaders who don't know how they're going to deal with people coming back into the office. How do you deal with performance management when people are sitting at home? What is it that keeps you together? There's some very common challenges out here but there are also some interesting points that we really need to take consideration of if we're looking to make a change or build our businesses or make a differentiator to the working environment and what we do. This gave me some hope. This is from the Mental Health Organisation. Relationships are one of the most important aspects of our lives. People who are more socially connected to family, friends, or their community are happier, physically healthier, and live longer, with fewer mental health problems than people who are less connected. Another interesting challenge as we sort of bring people back into the workplace. If we do carry on having blended working approaches, what is it that's needed to bring people together? And I would argue the point of me sort of being very passionate about this topic is to be explicitly clear about our ecosystem and where our people sit within it. Some of those stats are shocking, aren't they? You point back, the survey that, if you want a copy of this report, you'd be more than welcome to have it. But this is nearly 20,000 people from HR and leaders across the world that are telling us that things are in crisis. Forget the economy, what about the people? So while our businesses get more digitally savvy, we need to really do something to make sure that our people are equipped to move on. And some of those people that are coming back into environments where perhaps things have significantly shifted, and I can certainly say that I felt like this, the roles evolve, people all of a sudden discover that they're a square peg in a round hole, and nobody's bothered to sort of update them, train them, or prepare them for that. And these things are common problems, and we're going to see these sort of moving through the next year or so, I do believe. So moving on then, I can't seem to get that off of my screen now. What thoughts have we got? I want to talk about winning the hearts and minds of people, but we need to change our language to do that. What thoughts have you got in terms of, Juliet, you're in a digital business that's got, people working for you. Does some of this list become familiar to how things are changing in terms of the differences that we're currently experiencing? Camilla, if you're still there, some notes on text would be great if you want to add to the chat.
I think from my perspective, and I actively sought this out, having worked for some large organisations during my career, investors in community are very early stage, very small, very nimble and very engaged, and that's because there are fewer of us, I believe. I think those awful stats, this is a sweeping statement and not based on any of the research I've done, but I think the larger the organisation, sometimes often, and certainly from my experience, the more disengaged you are, feeling that sometimes you get, and departments that are set up to support this actually do need to relook at themselves and see what they are doing to help and to assist people's journeys through an organisation in a more holistic way than just get this report by Friday at 6, and if you don't, you'll have a report with your line manager and that type of approach. So I don't have, and I've moved to third sector engagement also because I felt that, I've been in healthcare, but now I've gone, to the third sector, and I'm really enjoying it because the company's small of a hierarchy, because we all have to get this off the ground. And we're all, of the same message, and it's easy to just have a meeting with everybody there, even though, we've been restricted, we can't do it face to face, we can do it and everybody can be heard. So that's my view.
Thank you. Camilla's added integrity, doing the right thing for internal and external customers. And I think that sometimes you need to go above and beyond to give before you receive. As a certainly when you're dealing with internal and external customers, I think that's quite important. How about you, Phil?
For me, I think it's very much about understanding what people are looking for that's different and making sure you stick to the cause. Some of this is never going to change. It'll always be about being trustworthy and flexible and bringing transparency to what you do. And I really like the being honest with people. You know, there's no point in me going into an organization and saying everything's wonderful. You need to tell them the truth. And I think even as businesses change, some of that stuff is going to be there forever. That underpins the stuff that goes back to Toyota back in the 50s. It's never changed. And the digital stuff has come around it, and the process technology and the technology platforms have changed. But actually, this stuff is still the same, and people still do it badly.
I mean, I think, you know, and up until very recently, people talking about profit. This is where senior leaders really need to change, you know, their language when they're talking to individuals, because profit now becomes aligning you to purpose and the values. So, you know, are you aligned to the company values? Are they as important to you as they are to us? And this is where you start looking at true engagement as opposed to people that are just performing a job. This is where the difference comes from. I was certainly towards the latter part of my employed career working where hierarchies just didn't exist. You know, we were working across projects, working towards our strengths. And it didn't matter if I, as a senior person, didn't have those strengths, because it meant somebody in my team actually did. So that for me is a mindset shift, as well as people being directed is actually supporting and standing back, allowing individuals to feel empowered. There was one other interesting piece of data in that leaders are a lot younger than they used to be. The average age is now 38. You'd never become a leader in the, you know, if you went back 10 years until you were at least a decade older than that. And as such, the needs of what we classed as being millennials we didn't understand where they came from a few years back. I'm going to go too far back before it was they're coming to the workplace and they're making all these demands. And those demands haven't changed. We've just had to move with it. So things like flexibility, the ability to ask for feedback, get clarity about what is required, but be empowered to and be trusted. There's a massive thing that I think is lacking in loads of teams across loads of businesses, which is the ability to make decisions and to make mistakes and to learn by them. Some businesses have a mantra now that is, we'd rather you make a mistake than not try. And what they're actually saying is, you know, we want people to have initiative and to move forward, even if we don't know how to get it from you. And that's what has to change, I think. So the language is changing, businesses are currently changing. And I think it does come back to just really understanding, you know, the last image I'm going to leave you with before we can look at the time and open for questions is, you know, we're all built on personal values. They direct us in directions of understanding what we're capable of doing and what we're prepared to do for a company. And businesses, through understanding and sort of outlining what they require from their ecosystem, allows us to really consider highlighting those values, ensuring that people are at the heart of the change that is required, and making sure that the ecosystem is driven from the inside of the business to the outside, so that the change can be felt, and that humans are never going to go away. We're just never going to go away in terms of what we want, but the way we work has changed, and I believe that it's more down to being more people-centric than more digitally-centric, if that makes sense. So how are we doing on time?
It's 5 past.
It's 5 past. We've gone over. Oh my goodness, Ali's gone. So she's apologised. She had an appointment.
I need to drop off now. I've got a client meeting for the rest of the day.
Well, good luck with your client meeting.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
And you.
You should drop me a line and we'll set up a one-to-one. It'd be good, I think, to catch up properly.
Yeah, that would be lovely. I'll do that.
Okay. Cheers. Thanks,
All
Julia.
right. Take care. Thanks ever so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So it's just the four of us now. So any further questions? I hope that's been helpful. There's a lot to cover in just an hour, but any last thoughts?
I enjoyed it. It was really interesting, hearing your personal perception of, your business and, some things that we need to consider. And it needs everybody to be of the majority to be of a similar mindset, and then we can make sure that we do make the workplace a continuing, good place to be.
Yeah.
Like you said, people aren't going away, and people needing money, that's not going to go away either, is it?
Exactly.
We are, most of us, in a position where we have to work, and we should enjoy it, as well as, achieve.
Enjoy it or move. And Camilla, she was in the background there. It's a shame we couldn't see you, Camilla. But, the words that Camilla was really bringing up were all values-based things. And she's saying here really interesting, especially being people-centric. And if anybody does want any more information on that or needs support, I'm true to my ecosystem. So if anybody does want to reach out and needs just to chat, if that's all that's needed, then by all means, please do so. I'd love to hear from you all.
I missed that. I've got signs coming out now saying my internet's unstable, so I don't know what you just.
If you need help, phone me. Happy to help. Okay, back to you, Lucy.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Well, thank you everyone for attending.